Hello, everybody, and welcome to Humanity's Heart. My name is Dr. Robyn Mills, and I have a really special guest with me today. And what I hope for today is that we engage, expand, and energise your heart. So I'd like to welcome Debra May Silver. And Debra is a poet who was published in the Frances Anthology Australia and can be heard as a regular speaker on Words Out Loud PBS FM community radio. Debra released her debut album of poetry and black and white photography, and her photography is absolutely beautiful. I've had a look on her website. My Rabid Fucking Soul in 2019, and is the founder of Ship Street Poetry. She studied screenwriting, film production, marketing, and has worked as an account manager. They just seem miles apart, don't they? In print and digital advertising arena for 20 years. She's a fan of Edgar Allen Poe, Oscar Wilde, Nick Cave, Neil Gaiman, and Alice Cooper. Her style is more often more raw and dark. She lives in Semaphore. I've never heard of Semaphore, a beachside suburb of Adelaide, and she's got a sausage dog called Colin. Good morning, Debra. That was an intro.
Good morning, Robyn. Thank you.
I just can't wait to find out a little bit more about you and about Colin, of course. So I don't know much about poetry in that way of it being raw. Would you like to explain a little bit to me about that?
I think I put in there about it being raw, modern, raw and dark, to possibly protect people that had the illusion that all poetry is butterflies, rainbows and, maybe, things like that. So that's where I come from. So it's stuff that anything that you feel, to me, there's no holes barred about when you write and there's hurt or pain or even love, that it doesn't have to fit into a particular construct of, what's acceptable in society or how we should or shouldn't speak. So I guess when I say raw, it's just straight out, this is how I'm feeling. And sometimes there's some four-letter words in there and sometimes there isn't. And but that, hey, if it's for description purposes and if it fits the narrative, then fine. I don't. So I say raw, maybe more to protect people, I think.
Yeah, that's the first time I've used the magic word to introduce someone.
Oh, yes, I know. And the reason I started Ship Street Poetry as my own publishing title was, even as a self-publisher, I wasn't going to any publishers, but just trying to self-publish, I was coming up against a wall where they didn't like that word. It's not used as an insult, it's used, as I said, as a descriptive word. So so I decided to just come up with my own. I like doing my own thing. I don't kind of really like being, most of us don't, but like being told what to do and how to do it, especially creative wise.
Yeah. If
you're being told how to do something, is it really that creative? That's how I feel. So that's why one of the reasons I started Ship Street. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And of course, my remembrance of poetry at school was that I wrote a poem for the yearbook, and even though they what they did was they challenged me. They said that it was so good that I must have stolen it from somewhere because I wasn't capable of writing that poem.
Yes.
Like, really? Are you kidding? And that's not how I felt back then. But now, as an adult looking back, I go, I think that's the right to tell you that you're not good enough to write something you've already written. It's crazy, isn't it?
And who's to say we're that I think we're conduits.
Yeah.
I think that this stuff can come from other places, so to speak, if you believe in spiritual realms and the universe stuff, and that we let it flow through. So who is to say who that should flow through and who that shouldn't flow through, or how it should flow? So that's where, you've looked at the website. I'm very passionate about free speech, and I'm very passionate about the truth, or your own truth, So so that's where the raw, I guess, the dark raw comes from. So
when did poetry come to you?
I don't it's funny, you know, I've always wanted, I remember being in year 4, I've always been the girl that went to the library at school at lunchtime, and I was always, you know, in my room with a book and things like that. So I remember quite distinctly in grade 4 primary that I wanted to be an author, but it was never in my mind it would be poetry. So I've kind of dabbled writing here and there, but I think when it really became clear is I did a writing workshop, and we were to meditate, and just something came up, it just flowed and it was easy. And yeah, so it was never I'm going to be a poetry writer, it was, or a poet, it just kind of came that way. I do have some aspirations down the track to maybe get into short story, but at the moment poetry is what's natural to me. So yeah.
You wake up in the middle of the night with words in your head? Like, I sometimes wake up with songs in my head in the middle of the night and I go, I hope I don't forget that in the morning. Does that happen?
Yeah, there's one in the first book that is particularly that. And I actually had a nightmare, and I woke up screaming. And I now have an app on the phone where I write, because sometimes the pen and paper in the dark doesn't work. And I wrote it and went back to sleep. And I woke up in the morning thinking, it's going to be terrible, you know, because you think when you're writing in the night, and actually it was only a little bit of editing and that. So yeah, I do have that where it'll just come. Other times it will be quite laborious. There's one poem about my mother who's dead that was a reoccurring dream. So the poem's called The Reoccurring Woman. And that took me a good 4 hours just to, I can't even talk about the poem because it's so emotional, you know. So that took me a good 4 hours just to get it out. And then there was the process of mucking around with it, making sure it made sense and stuff like that. So it depends. Sometimes they come like that. Sometimes, you know, they're written on it. The one I said to 4,000 Ripples effect, because this is where we're talking. That was the forfeit of a city, and that was written on that was written on a plane back from Sydney, because I'm a Sydney girl, and it was 2 hour, I think around 2 hour flight. I wrote it and I tucked it away because it was quite tangled, if that's a good word. And then I brought it out, couldn't look at it, took it back. So that took me a good year before I actually got that. Yeah, so they're all different. They're all different depending.
I love the emotion from your mum. I don't want to go past that, because I'm thinking that she came to you so many times in your dream because she was going to be in a poem.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Do you think she just kept coming?
Maybe, I don't know. I haven't looked at that. The poem called The Reoccurring Woman is actually, I keep seeing this woman, and I know it's my mother, clearly, and I can never get to her.
Right.
And she never says anything to me. And I see my daughter, because I have grandchildren, I have lots of children, I have lots of grandchildren. So I see one particular daughter and her children with her, and she's holding their hand. And I'm quite vocal about, you better not be taking them with you, because I'm gonna kick and scream, and I'm gonna really, like, I'm not gonna allow this to happen type of thing. So there was a bit of a fear thing there going on, that, oh, was this a premonition? You know what I mean? So that dream, when we did the book launch and that poem was in it, I'm not much of a spoken word. A lot of poets are, and that's great, and they're very good at it. It's not something I'm really comfortable with. I don't mind recording it, but in person, because there's so much emotion, I don't want to cry. So I had another fellow poet here that she spoke that poem out at the book launch, because I just wouldn't, even, you know, I can't do it even now. I'm just talking about the poem. So sometimes I hand off my poems and go, can you go and read that one, because I'm not going to cry, or I'm not going to do it justice. I don't know. Yeah. Because
the words are so real. You know, they're not just words, they're your emotions. Every word's your emotion, some deep experience. Yeah, I'm not picking out words that look good on paper, or rhyme. Yes.
No. And I don't even know that my style is any particular poetry specific style that you see, you know, when you study. I just write, you know, and there's emotion attached to emotion attached to those words. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that, because I often write a little paragraph, but it doesn't have anything to do with rhyming or, you know, a particular rhythm or any of the things that I don't know about poetry. It's just a flash in the pan that I hear in my head and I have to write it down. And so it makes me feel like it's not real, you know, as a poem, it's not important. And yet what I've written feels important.
That's interesting, because I talked about doing my first book for a long time. I am a procrastinator, okay?
It's a great garden.
Sometimes a better procrastinator than other days, but a close friend of mine, he said to me, and he's in the music industry, and he said to me, you know, Deb, just do it. Just effing do it. It's like, just stop talking about it. And there's a bit of perfectionist, and I'm like, well, yes, but what are you comparing these things to? When we compare to what we think it should be based on what someone else has done, it's not authentic. So I went with that and just went, okay. And it's not really about comparing myself to anyone, even though I do have my favorites. You know, I absolutely adore the ones that you mentioned, and Nick Cave's way up there with his writing and his emotion. But you know, at the end of the day, we're not comparing to each other. It's art, and it's for someone else to appreciate. And it's funny, you know, because I think, oh, this poem's pretty heavy. Someone will get that, and then I get a bit of feedback on Goodreads, or a friend will read the book and go, oh, this line from this poem, and I'm going, oh, okay, I really didn't. So you kind of helped someone, or they've felt the same, and you just didn't even know that you were going to. So that's the bonus.
Yes, that is the bonus, when you make a difference and your intention really was just to express. And it's similar for me in art, that I couldn't draw you a stick figure or a house or a tree or, you know, anything that you would recognize, but I love moving color around. So, you know, inks or epoxy resin or something where I can, and I do it on top of the shape of the heart, or I create hearts because I'm about humanity's heart. So when if I write the word artist near my name, or I put my things up, I think, oh, other artists won't really think that's art. And yet people say, oh, look at that art. It just goes into my heart. I can feel it. So, and I love that when people look at it and they can feel the energy that I've put into it.
Yeah.
But I don't fit artist as such. I fit colour mover.
I think an artist is just basically a creator, to me, is what you create. And that could be, you could build a beautiful building. Like I love Art Deco, 40s building, you know, all that. Now that could be looked at not art, but to me that's art, you know what I'm saying? So I think any kind of creation that's positive, I think it's art. Who's to say who's to say? Like, who's the judge at the end of the day? That's what, you know. So that's why I just do my own thing and go, okay, well, as someone actually said to me when I first got published, they said, quite a conservative man, he said, oh, so they let you use that title, My Rabid Fucking Soul? And I said, who's they? And he goes, oh, I said, well, who's they? Who's stopped me? Like, who is they? They let me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you've seen the cover from the website, and I deliberately put that on there because I didn't want people picking the book up going, oh, not that the title wasn't a good giveaway anyway, but I didn't want people picking up thinking, oh, beautiful poetry, and then open it up and get some stuff. Some of the stuff's a little, as we talked about, a little bit sensitive.
The photos were great. They were great. So it is the other, isn't it? You know, what's the other going to think, or the other going to say? And this is what this man was, the other, wasn't he? Really? Like, they let you.
Well, he's not my market. Or I call them my tribe. You know, I just speak and be who I am, and either you love me or you don't. And I think until you're authentic and you do that, then you're not going to know who your real people and who your tribe are. So I either attract all those people, or they go, this isn't for me, and that's perfectly fine. You know, I've got a little saying, and I say to everyone, not everybody loved the Beatles. Do you know what I mean? So they were famous and huge and massive, but not everybody loved them. So
that's fantastic. And in fact, when the Beatles came to Australia, because I'm that old, you know, our parents thought they were evil, you know, like they were these long-haired louts that, you know, they were going to change the world in a negative way. So absolutely what you're saying is true. I love that. Not everyone loves the Beatles. I'm going to think that from now on. That's a really beautiful thought.
Good.
So how did you become this strong person that I'm seeing today?
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting question. I think a lot of disappointment, a lot of maybe abandonment, violence, you know, attack lies to everything. I had my first son at 14, and I had 5 children, if that gives you any indication. Not that where you live matters, but I was brought up, my dad was army, we moved around a lot. He's an ex-Vietnam vet. Love him, but he's a hard man. So I think a combination of things, but at the end of the day, I think it was, you know, I've always had this motto of you sink or you swim, you know. And if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down kicking and screaming. I don't know if that's something that's born into me and that's just part of your personality, or whether that's something that is, you know, that is grown through experience. But yeah, I've I guess experience to a point, maybe a little bit of genetics, I'm not sure, but definitely you get nowhere laying around. I mean, it's great. I have days where I lay around and feel sorry for myself and, you know, I have a good think about everything, but you can only do that for so long, and then you've got to get up, and ultimately I'm responsible for how my life turns out. So I can come up with all the excuses and all the reasons, you know, on the planet, but that's not going to change the outcome to where I want to be. So that's just how I see it, I guess. That's a really long story, Robyn. Like,
oh no,
a long time and tell you a whole lot of things. Reading the book will give you maybe a bit of an insight to some of that stuff. But yeah.
And I love that you have 5 children. That is amazing. How many grandchildren?
They're all adults now.
Yeah.
I have 14 and another one on the way.
Wow, 14 grandchildren. That's amazing, and not a wrinkle in sight.
Me, I'm serious. There is.
The joy that a grandchild brings, I just can't explain the love. Like, I absolutely love my children, but when you have your own children, you've got all this other stuff going on, and you're responsible, and you've got to make the lunches, and you've got to, you know, all the things that you know, a mother has to do. But as a grandmother,
great grandchildren, like I say to one of my daughters, and I'm particularly close to her son, who she had him young, so he's going on to 12 this year. He's not the eldest, but we're very close. And whether you believe in past lives or whatever, he did say to me once, remember, Nana, that time we said next time we die we're going to do it, we're going to go together? And he was 9, and I'm like, wow, where did you get this from, mate? Like, I didn't have that conversation with you, you know, now. But we're really, really close. And you're right, you don't have to give them, you know, not really discipline. I just kind of give him a look and it's good. But I did say to my daughter, his mum, he is my prize for not killing you when you were a teenager. I didn't kill you as a teenager, so now the prize is these these awesome grandchildren that they're your friends, and they really do appreciate us, don't they? You know, they really appreciate you. Yeah,
they absolutely do. And I say grandchildren are the gift your children give back to you. So we're on the same path as that. And when they're being difficult, having moments, I just laugh because I just went, yep, I've seen it all before. Yep, this is a little bit of karma. It's great.
I've got to say, yes, that's happened just this week, actually, when my daughter rang. And I did have a heart for her because I understand when a child tells you you're a shit mum and you're crap and I hate you. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but that's part of it, just keep loving them and telling them you love them, and hopefully they'll get past that stage. Not all of them do, but, hopefully they do.
And I have a grandson who gives me 5-minute hugs. So we set the timer on the iPhone, and he just lays there and cuddles me for 5 minutes. It's the most beautiful thing on the planet.
They are, and the 11-year-old grandson of Jared, he will ring me and go, so what did you do this week? And how are your friends? And like a real interest in what I'm doing, you know what I'm saying? And then sometimes he'll just ring me and go, oh, Nana, can you buy me this from eBay? So it's like, yeah, okay, you earned it. You earned it for all the other times.
Oh, that's precious. Yeah, I absolutely relish in being a grandmother. It doesn't mean I'm patient and kind all the time, which is who I want to be, but still I get a little bit irritable or frustrated from time to time. But, the love, they just peel layers off your heart. That's what they do, and just make it softer and warm. I'm wondering, Debra, if you imagine that you're towards the end of your life and you looked back, what would your heart say is your proudest moment?
Proudest moment. It's interesting. It's probably an unseen moment, Robyn, that no one else saw. And it's probably forgiving anybody that hurt me.
Oh, that's beautiful. Really beautiful.
You're catching me off guard. You've got me crying, and I won't say never. I'm not a crier.
Yeah.
So yes, I would say those people that have attacked, hurt, whether it be deliberate or not deliberate, it doesn't matter. I think the moment that I decided, it's all good. I'm still wise about it, though. Do you know what I mean? It's not that forgiveness where it's not that forgiveness where it's like, I'll let you do this again, but it is pretty much going, okay, you're human, I'm human, I'm sure I've hurt people as well, and I just forgive them. I think that's probably it, because I am quite a tough, Western Sydney kind of girl. And I think when I did have that moment, or it's not just one moment, by the way, it's probably something that you need to do regularly for your own sake. I go and do that quietly. So maybe that. Yeah.
That is phenomenal, because it's so important. And what I love is that you responded with emotion, because it means it's the truth. It's a deep truth for you. I like to say the Ho'oponopono. Do you know that?
I don't think so.
I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you.
Yes,
so especially, especially if I've done something.
I did a workshop and they did that, but I didn't remember the name of it.
Yeah. So I used to have it stuck on my wall. So if I wasn't sleeping because I was worried about something, I'd just say the Ho'oponopono again and again until I fell asleep.
Okay.
So, because, I can worry. Yes.
We do. We all do.
Yeah. So when you've looked back, how would your heart say you've lived your life?
Honestly. Honest.
Yeah.
Sometimes my honesty isn't appreciated. I'll just say honest and authentic. And like I said, it's not always appreciated. Sometimes when you speak your truth, or you say what you're thinking, or you say what everyone else can see, like the elephant in the room, but you're the only one that's got the backbone to actually say it. I would say that's it. And I think that's probably, for people that know me really well, and even people that don't know me so well, would say, that's pretty much. Sometimes it's a little blunt. Sometimes not so blunt, but it just comes out as the truth. And the thing with that is sometimes when people hear you speak the truth that they don't want to hear or they don't agree with, they take it as an attack, and it's never an attack. It's always I always say this is an observation, you know what I'm saying? And it's never a judgment. It's always like from my heart going, this is what I see, or this is what I'm thinking. It's never anything out of trying to cause harm, you know? So, yeah.
So it sounds like you're really intuitive. And when you're really intuitive, you also have to be authentic, because you can't go against what you know.
No, I can't.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wish I could. And when I say that, I say that because I think circumstances would have been easier if I did.
Yes.
Short term at that moment.
Yes.
But I would have gone to bed that night, you know, why didn't you say the truth? Why didn't you know what I'm saying? So yes. There have been a lot of moments, and I've done a lot of in-depth thought about myself, and, you know, had a good look at myself and gone, geez, I wish I could be that, you know. So, and well, I'm just not. That's all there is to it. So there's no point. There's no point in me trying to be something I'm not. And like you said, it's not authentic. So those that get it, and those that don't. And, you know, you'd
be a great friend. You'd be a really loyal friend.
Yeah, once you've got my loyalty, that's it. And
yeah.
Flip side, I expect the same. So I have you know, people sometimes say, oh, you're a bit rough. I'm like, no, I'm not a bit rough. That's what it is. There's certain things that you do as a friend and you don't do as a friend. But I think at the end of the day, you're going to be true to yourself. And I have these conversations with my adult daughters and my adult son, and it's like they're having trouble making a decision, and it's like, and they're tough decisions. They really are tough decisions. And I said, you know, at the end of the day, it's got to be the decision you can live with. You don't know the outcome. There could be 100 outcomes from that decision, and you don't know which one it's going to be. But you have to know that whatever decision you made, it was the one that you can live with, and you know you did your best, and that's what's true to you. So that's always the guide to me about everything I do. You know, if I make this decision, can I live with this decision? If I do the one that pleases everyone else, that everyone else is saying you should do, can I live with that? And usually the answer is no. And then as time kind of goes along, I actually have those moments where it's confirmed that decision over and over and over again. So I just stick to that.
That's what amazing that's going to be for people who listen to this who have difficulty making decisions. That's fantastic. And I like to think about a decision, because sometimes I go over and over and over decisions, but more recently I'm able to say, who do I want to be in the world? I want to be a loving, strong woman. Does this decision move me towards that or away from it? Towards who I want to be in the world or away? But I like the way you go about that. That's really great.
Yeah, and I've got to stick to what I say too, you know, like I can't walk around giving my friends and family and going, well, just tell that person that, just say this, just do, you know, it. You know what I'm saying? And then not do that myself. But I think it's easy for me, and I know it's not easy for everyone else. Like I find it easy because I've been doing it a long time. And maybe a little brassy or a little too independent. I don't know what everyone says you are, and it's like, well, you know, I'll give you lessons. I'll tell you how to say no. I'll tell you how to tell somebody no.
Where were you? Where were you when I needed to learn that lesson? How to say no? I was a people pleaser. All of my life I was a people pleaser. So I've learned to say no now. And it's great. Go, actually, no, I don't feel like doing that today. Thank you.
It feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does feel good.
Even at the point, I don't even give an excuse anymore or a reason. I don't feel like I need to justify my no. Sometimes I will, depending on how close I am to that person and how they are. But I'll just go, no, I can't. or no. It's not, there's no, because sometimes people want to get into that conversation and try and convince you. So I just don't go down that track. It's just say, sorry, I can't do that. Or I don't want to.
Yeah.
Like, why not? I go, because I don't want to. And that's pretty much, and I'll just laugh, smile. A smile can get you away with a lot of things.
Oh, that's so true.
You just say it with a smile.
We're coming towards the end of the interview.
Yeah.
Can you believe that's been half an hour? It's gone so fast, hasn't it?
I know. I feel like I know you.
I feel like I know you.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, I'd like to give you an opportunity, if there's something you wanted to say and you haven't, I'd like to give you an opportunity for you to choose what you want to finish on.
Oh, thank you, Robyn. I just would like to say to anyone out there that's doing anything, it doesn't have to, it can be like what you know as art or writing or anything in your life. It could be fixing cars. It's all art. It's all creative. We're creative by design or nature or whatever you like to call it. And don't be ashamed of that. Like, I can't put IKEA together, but geez, I love someone that can. Do you know what I mean? And we're all just awesome, but in our own different way. And just do your own thing. Stop listening to the media. You're going to get me going. Stop listening to society and the media and everyone telling you what you should and shouldn't be. You decide in your heart what you want to be, and you go for it. And the ones that are going to be there with you for that journey will come, and the ones that aren't meant to be will leave. And just go. That's it.
Oh, that is absolutely the perfect way to end the show. Absolutely perfect. Thank you. Authentic and real, Debbie. Thank you for your authenticity and your realness. I've learned something along the way. Look, I've lost my voice. I've learned something along the way today, and I really thank you for that. So thank you, Debra. I hope that today engaged, expanded your heart in some way. And until we meet again, may your heart beat to the rhythm of humanity's heart.
Thank you.